Commenter, you may begin.
Good morning. Can you tell me the parameters? Is this general public comment as well as agenda item, and how much time do I get?
You get a minimum of two for public comment. Agendized public comment, and a minimum of two on agendized comment.
So I have four total, and I take all 4 minutes right now.
Sorry, Steve Simon speaking. I'm gonna restate. You have up to 2 minutes for each agendized items. You have 2 separate minutes for non-agendized items in the subject matter jurisdiction for a grand total, however, of 5 minutes. So essentially, you've got two full sets of comments and an extra minute if you want.
Okay, and we do it all now, right? Because it used to be separate, so I do it all at once. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, so just announce what item you'd like to speak on. And if you have something that's a non-agendized, you have 2 minutes for that as well.
Okay. Can you let me know when the last 2 minutes for the non-agendized items is? I don't want to, because I'll save that for last if
Yes,
that's
we'll be keeping
preferable.
track.
Okay, thank you. Please, yeah, I don't want to miss my non-agenda. Okay, so I want to speak first of all on the minutes. I am very thankful for how you do your minutes. To me, you're a shining example of how it should be done. I call often to, or go in person to Public Works often, and their minutes always say, public comment was taken. And that says nothing. We've been going, numerous people have been going for over a year now, talking about the different issues of Scientology in the community and on the city, and nothing is ever reflected. I appreciate the fact that for historical value, that people can look back and understand what the concerns were, and not just with Scientology, but for any of the concerns. So I appreciate and I applaud you for that, and you are the golden example of how it should be done. I also want to speak on the the access at the train to help get people around. I think that's a great idea, but at the same time, I'm concerned about, like, yes, we need to be able to get disabled people through, airports or any kind of transportation hub. I know there's sometimes access, to get help with, with the wheelchair or whatever, but it does need to be easier. My only concern is that the city is so lacking in maintaining its elevator systems, which helps us getting to and from our trains, from the ground level, and that I am very concerned that this will not be maintained properly. And I'm hoping that while LAX, they're presenting this, they would also realize that people may be taking the metro train stations to the airport to be able to catch a flight. And very often, like right now at Universal Studios stop, there's not going to be any elevator access for months. So if I was on vacation and I was, staying at
Is
Universal
2 minutes.
Studios, sorry.
That was 2 minutes.
Okay, so I need to go on to a different
Yes.
item. Okay.
So you
So the
have
next,
a minute remaining for items either not on the agenda or another agendized item. You have a minute remaining.
okay, so I want to do my non-agenda item. Is that I get too, it's so confusing, new way you're doing things.
Okay.
Okay, this one might be my non-agenda items, I guess. All right. So for non-agenda items, I've been coming here for a long time discussing the different concerns with Scientology and and how they treat the disabled. I have been coming that on Fountain Avenue, that Patha Streetway they have it so broken because of they abused the sidewalks, they broke it, and they will not fix it, knowing it is I cannot access it at all. And then there's also a lot of seniors who are not being treated, like they are so horrible with their seniors, trying to help them get in and out of their hotel, the people that come for services. And it is like you will want to cry seeing how these people, they don't even barely help them get in and out of this hotel. It's not handy accessible. This is a $1 billion corporation or organization that could make it accessible, and they do not. And there's times that they don't even help. We're there, we'll see them and say, help these people, help them get into your hotel. It's your hotel, these are your people. And it is cruel how they are being treated. There's so much film footage of how bad they treat, because they consider the disabled degraded beings. I'm in a chair. I am to Scientology a degraded being. That is like worse than almost anything. It's like worse than being a criminal. It's just they believe I did it to myself. If you're disabled, you did that to yourself. You have to figure out why you're disabled and fix it through auditing. And so they're disabled elderly people. They see them as degraded beings that need to fix themselves to be up to a tone level like standard where they should be they're acceptable. Okay, and that is a right, and they have a right to practice that faith. I'm not denying their right to practice it, but I don't believe that we as a society have to sit there and allow abuse in our city and allow them to do things that would be considered, abusive or illegal. And and so there is, like, I don't want to see this level of discrimination. So I am asking you guys to
That
take a
was
more
2
serious
minutes.
look at this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yvonne, before we go on to the next commenter, we just want to recognize Commissioner Williams has walked in, so welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next public commenter, you may begin.
Yeah, so I would like to speak on,
State which
I would
topic?
like to speak on the minutes first and then non-agenda. So on the minutes, I want to commend you guys on the minutes. Like Audit LA spoke of earlier, Public Works really is horrible with their minutes. They put public comments been received. That's all they have. And I really appreciate the minutes that you guys have. If I could, I would give you a round of applause, but I think that would sound really bad on Zoom, but I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to go to my non-agenda.
1 second.
Yep. Just let me know.
You may begin the non-agendas.
Okay. So, one of my best friends, Audit LA, was traveling. She was in between meetings at City Hall, and I forget what street it was, but she was traveling back from lunch, and she's in a wheelchair, and she had to go into the bike lane because the sidewalk was so bad. And I wish that I remembered what street that was on, but I get confused with those roads down there. But it's a shame that someone in a wheelchair has to put their safety at risk in order to get around. There's no reason that a person in a wheelchair should have to use the bike lane. And what if there wasn't a bike lane? She would have actually had to be in the road and risked her life even more because cars might not have seen her. So I just hope that that can be fixed. I wish I had a street for you, but I don't. I also want to touch on the fact that what she said about around Scientology's blue base, the blue building on Fountain, that sidewalk is horrible. And I have a feeling it looks like they are intentionally not fixing it because they do not want Audit LA to be able to access that area. With everything going on, I really think that there's some type of discrimination or hate situation or something against Audit LA, who is disabled, because they look at her as a degraded being. And that sidewalk, you cannot get over it in a wheelchair. It's horrible, actually, all around their whole building. But Fountain is really bad. And if there's anything you can do, because like I said, I think there's some discrimination or some hate situation going on against someone in a wheelchair. Thank you. I yield my time.
140. Thank you. Next public commenter, you may begin.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Henry. I've spoken before this board. Today, I'd like to make a multiple agenda item comment and general public comment. And I'll start with my agenda item comments. The first point that I want to talk to on the agenda is actually pertaining to the meeting minutes. And if you recall, back in June of this year, One of your board members made a motion and it was seconded. I believe it was Dr. Robert Baton, and I forget who the person that seconded the motion was, but to push the city attorney's office and to demand that they generate a report by the quarter, meaning this should have been delivered by today at the latest, specifically on who the city has prosecuted for violations of the public right of way, meaning both charged as well as fined. And the reason for that report is because there's been multiple incidences presented before this board for people being targeted and discriminated, particularly on a protected status, namely due to their disability, for blockading them on the public right of way. And the city attorney's office has yet to follow up on that order. I have yet to see it be mentioned on subsequent meeting minutes, as well as I know one of the other meeting agenda items on today's meeting is actually one of the work plans for the fiscal year of 2025, 2026. I have not forgotten about that. I hope this board has not forgotten. And I know for sure the city attorney's office has not forgotten. And I know for sure that their deputies internally are scrambling to not fulfill and make good on that order. And they must abide by what this board demands of them. And it is a very simple report. I think it's a very reasonable ask, at the very least, for the office of the city attorney to provide that information. And I know, in fact, they do have that information. And so I urge this board to pressure the city attorney's office to, in fact, turn over that material, because the public has the right to see who the city is actually prosecuting for these flagrant violations. It is important. It is important primarily because that money
Your
can
2-minute
also
mark.
go into funding. When we talk about the fiscal year work plan, it can go into funding some other major public infrastructure projects so that we don't have
Sir,
issues
that was your
like
2-minute mark. You can now
thank you.
non-agendized.
The non-agenda item comments I have is basically the following. We have a city attorney that is blatantly committing political acts of prosecution vindictively and selectively for her campaign donors and for people that agree with her. And for those that don't, she will go after them. I told you the story of my case where I was politically prosecuted, and I ultimately beat that case and walked away with fantastic discovery and an outright recording of the city attorney admitting on recording at a public venue that she prosecuted me as a political favor to the Church of Scientology. That is who's presiding the city of Los Angeles city attorney's office. She also prosecuted Ben Camacho. If you don't know who that is the guy that originally sued the city and the LAPD and won all of the public profile photos of all the officers, including their name, rank, and salary information. And she prosecuted him with criminal charges simply because he had the audacity to exercise his CPRA rights, filed a written mandate lawsuit in court, won that case fair and square, and she prosecuted him criminally and said that he was intentionally doxing and harassing officers simply for filing a lawsuit. He won that lawsuit in under a year. The city had to settle and ultimately drop the charges against him, and yet another victim of the political prosecution machine that is Heidi Feldstein Soto. And so to the sitting current deputy city attorney there, this is who your boss is. This is what they're doing. And again, I need to remind you and this board that you still owe this board a report for the prosecutions of people that violate 5609, 5611, 5612 for the violation of the public right-of-way blockade. That is exactly why the Board of Public Works last year issued an order to Scientology to remove those barricades. They did not comply. They were never criminally prosecuted, and they were not charged and fined as such. And this board owes it to the people that they're supposed to serve, particularly the disabled community, to follow up on that order. And with that, I
was
leave
your
you.
2-minute mark. You now have 1 minute for either agendized or non-agendized public comment.
I leave this board with my final closing remarks that You need to make good on your own orders. You need to make good on the fact that you owe the constituents what they rightfully deserve, which is holding the city accountable. It is within your grasp and power to do so. It is why you're commissioners of this board, and you have a lot of weight to throw around. You're put in that position for a reason. I respect the fact that you guys hold such an orderly decorum and you allow people to speak. And for that, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Public commenter, you may begin. Is it Jill? Alana, can you hear us?
Hello?
Oh, there you are.
Hi. Was Jill able to get on?
No, you, Laura, you're up.
Okay. So I would like to speak, just I guess on general public comment because I can't specify exactly what agenda, the 2 points I want to bring up. So the first one here is that on 4816 Fountain Avenue, that's one of Scientology's blue buildings. And just to make a note, I was born and raised in this cult of Scientology. And when I say they do not believe in or respect or adhere to healthcare or psychiatric care or elderly care, going to a hospital, all of this stuff is very much against the internal policy letters of Scientology. There have been many deaths. I was an internal Sea Org member where I signed a billion-year contract. So what I'm getting to really quickly is that at 4816 on Fountain Avenue, you have Sea Org members, indentured slaves who are making only $47 a week, going in and out of this building that has no access, no elevator access, no ramps, only stairs, where every day we have people filming, and I will gladly send in the links, where people are almost falling down these stairs onto city property. So as much as they want to say, oh, it's a private hotel, they don't need to have, a disability there. No, when they don't believe in their religion, they don't believe in healthcare and psychiatric care, then there's going to be deaths, which there have been in the Sea Org. And it's all simply little things like them getting away with not fixing the sidewalks because the elderly and the disabled can't get by there. They don't want people protesting in wheelchairs against their disabilities. So this is a huge issue. And if you, again, can have somebody go inspect and just watch for a few hours, how many elderly members of Scientology going in and out, making $47 a week, by the way, going in and out of session multiple times, almost falling on these stairs, barely getting into the building with their walkers and with the wheelchairs. It's really, really sad. My uncle died in this cult. My mother just had breast cancer. Nobody knew about it for way too long. My uncle, way too long,
That's your
died from
2-minute
colon
mark
cancer.
for general public comment.
Thank you. My uncle died from cancer, from internal cancer, from being in the Sea organization for so long. And he lived at Blue Building and was in Los Angeles for over 50 years.
That's time, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Next public commenter.
Hi, I'm just going to go along with that. I'm just doing the public comment. No other agendized comments. I'm very concerned with the cult of Scientology sidewalk situation with the cracks. Not only can someone in a wheelchair or chair like Audit LA can get stuck, there are people with walkers and canes that have gait disorders that are also being dissuaded from accessing that part of the sidewalk. They can get their wheels stuck and have a problem and possibly lose balance. Even someone in a cane that has a gait issue can totally lose balance and fall on the sidewalks. And it's discriminatory that they don't like people there that are going to be just calling attention to their abuses on the inside. As they said, the elderly are or disabled or degraded beings, and also to sound so absurd, they consider people with allergies having an aberration. So they wouldn't even recognize someone having any kind of food allergies or an environmental allergies. Also, with that building that is where the elderly have to access, that Laura FM just said that there are just stairs. There's not even grab rails for anybody to have to hold on to while going up the stairs. They don't even, they have people even with a walker trying to get in there, and they have to hold their walker and try to get up the stairs at the same time without even having anything to hold on to for safety. I can see someone falling backwards and hitting their head on the sidewalk, causing a serious traumatic brain injury, and that would be right on the city sidewalks. I've seen people fall. I lived in a building once in New York, and I saw an elderly person that
your
lost their
2-minute mark.
footing. Okay.
You do have, is it all your public comment? You have
Yes.
2 minutes.
That concludes the public
Public.
speakers. Another speaker?